Hey gang, so today's something I got in a trade, and this is something I've been looking at for a long time, and I've always kind of been on the fence with this, because sometimes mechanicals are good, sometimes they're bad. I don't know, and so spending full money on it's always a little tricky, but I got this one in a trade, and I'm happy I got it because I finally get a chance to tear it apart. It's the MOT or the MOT Groove. There is a lot to look at with this thing because there are so many springs and balls, but don't worry, we're gonna take every single one of them out and we're gonna dissect this thing completely so that you don't have to. It's the MOT Groove. Let's go. Okay, so here we have the Groove. Now, this thing is, this is cool. It's, I gotta say though, not as fluid as I'd hoped. The pushing up takes a bit of effort, and the effort is due to these, I'm gonna guess this is like a Teflon or something, how this inner ring is connected to the Teflon, and that's basically these screws. These screws, the tighter you go, the more these Teflon rails press down, and then they press against the inner groove of this circle, which we'll see in a minute. And so everything is based on pressure, right? So the problem is if these go too tight, this becomes very difficult to move because there's too much pressure on there. However, if you don't tighten them enough, then the screws start coming out. So if you go with like a lighter setting, I think this would definitely, you would definitely need Loctite on here. This is a very unique style of fidget in the kind of the spin and the push up and down. That in itself is very cool. However, we're gonna open this up and I'm gonna show you what I mean. So let's start by just loosening this a bit. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is just give it like a half turn, maybe not even. Let's go quarter turn on the screws. And I'm gonna do it to the other side. So now we've loosened it. And now it's much easier to push and slide. However, these screws are loose now, and I don't have any confidence in them staying in. If I give them another kind of turn, turn that around. So now we are dealing with super loose. So, like, you know what I mean? It's there, and maybe if you Loctite it, it'd be fine. I don't trust it very much, though. When I was playing with it, in fact, at one point I had it a bit looser, and the center springs actually came out of of sort of like the disc inside here. So this feels like something you need to tighten down to keep secure. If not, if you're a person that has worked with this and kept them loose, please comment and let me know, because I'd love to explore the settings a little more. And I know people tune stuff, but usually tuning just means like changing a spring from a strong spring to a light spring, maybe changing out the balls, whatever. But tuning is typically not like some major, you know, adjustment settings you can make to this. It's really just loosening, tightening, and adding softer or stronger springs, and maybe changing out the balls. Okay, so here's what we have. We have rails. Now, I'm gonna turn this over. I'm gonna take this lid off. And inside, okay, we have these tracks. These balls, if I line this up, you can see how the middle balls run along the middle track, outer balls run along the outer track. Now, you can also switch and put the balls in here. You can put the balls and the springs in here. All that does is it gives you kind of like a no friction slide in the middle until it hits the end balls. I'm not going to bother doing that because there's not enough of a payoff to show you. It just slides loose. It just slides loose until it hits these balls. So really, now that I've told you, you don't need to see it. I hope if you do, go do it. But this thing takes a bit to take apart and put together. So what we have are these tracks. These tracks are what keep it sitting inside the plate here, right? So remember, these tracks are screwed in like this, one certain side. And so this plate rides along the track. So let's see. I'm going to take out these balls. We're going to get our little catch cup here. I don't even know if we should be calling it catch cup. I use it because sometimes I watch people's like spider videos. I hate spiders, so I'm fascinated with the videos, and they always have a catch cup. Catch cup, because the spiders go running around. All right, so let's just get our springs out. But I mean, it is kind of a catch cup, right? Okay, so now that we have this, our little springs and balls out, we're gonna take off the disc, because what we still have is two parts, right? We have the sliding of the back and forth. That sound comes from these balls running along these tracks. But we also have this. And that's because we have another set of balls inside. So we are going to go with a different head on here. So a Phillips. So we're changing out from a flat head to a Phillips. And I'm going to do this from the side so that you can see it. And you don't have to just look at the back of my hand. Let's see. Okay, I lied. I still have to do this a little bit. No, that's not coming out. All right. So this, okay, it does kind of, but not very well. So this is sort of a steel, but must be like a composite or something. So if I take this off, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to lift it out. So what we have on this side are 4 balls sitting in springs. See if I can get that back in there. Okay, so we have 4 balls sitting in springs, and they just rotate around the inside of this. So that's it. No magic. We've got little magnets here that I guess kind of help you to lock in place a little so that when you get to that center point, it helps you align everything. It just sort of pushes you a little bit more into that I guess that angle so that it locks when you spin it. But that's kind of it. So you can see everything is all friction based, right? So if we take this, and what's also nice is that when I place this down there, these magnets will connect, which will hopefully allow me to lift it up a little bit. There, we heard the magnets engage. So the magnets kind of like lift it up. And that's it. Now the trick here is you really have to press down hard because you don't want any of those balls popping out for a spring to kind of lift. So I put my little, so this also has this little collar piece here. So that allows this to, allows the plate to spin around without the screw kind of causing it to stick. Right? So we've got that in place. Now let's put our springs and balls back. All right, guys. These holes are really weird too that the springs go in because they're not perfectly, like they're not just like perfect little tubes, the holes. They kind of have an angle to them, so the springs almost lay in them a little sideways. Like they can kind of rotate on an angle a bit. And that I find really hard, because when you put this back on, you'll see that the balls sometimes lean to the side a little bit too much. Okay, so I'm gonna switch over to my flat tip tweezers right here. And anytime I'm dealing with balls and tweezers, I want to use wide flat tips instead of tiny little pointed ones. And that's only because there's much more surface on the ball. So it's, and not to say that it won't, but it is less inclined to shoot outwards when you pinch down on the tweezers. So if you've got this tiny little space and you've got a ball on here, right, this just sends balls flying out like a rocket. So we don't want that. That's why we go with the flat. Okay, now here is the tricky part. This is together. We need to align our tracks with the face first. So again, I do this because sometimes people will sort of get stuck and they don't know why it's not going together. So you see how there's a bottom ridge that sticks out further. That bottom ridge has to go underneath the plate like this. You can also see you've got, oh, I just hit the ball, but you've got these little grooves here, these little pieces that stick up. They actually have spaces or slots inside the cap. So you know that that little space sits right in here. So it just kind of keeps it more secure. All right, I'm going to fix this ball, put it back into place. Now, yes, you can tune this. You can change it. You can move the balls around. You can do different things. You can take a couple balls out. You can take springs out and stuff. So you can modify this, but you need the parts. Now I got this secondhand. I don't know what this comes with new. I got this in a trade. So mine is like this, and I'm not going to mod it or tune it. I think if anything, I might just like leave my screws a little loose, but let's see now. So this, by the way, this middle post, I would probably Loctite, because that came loose on me one time, and it was not fun because it happened while I was in the car, and one of the springs kind of pushed up and then it was stuck. So I was like, okay, I'm not messing with that anymore until I got home. So I will probably Loctite that at some point soon. So I'm going to take my lid and I'm going to gently place it on the top so that I don't push those balls out of the way. That's the trick, is that the balls need to stay on the springs, right? If you roll, if you don't place it down perfectly, then again, the problem with the way those springs kind of move back and forth, they kind of do this a little bit when they're in the hole. So if you don't push down perfectly flat, the springs will actually slide over a little bit, and then you're pushing down, the ball kind of rolls out and stuff. So it's really annoying. Here's the other thing to be careful of. When you put the screw in the hole, don't do like I did and not be prepared. Because now I have to do this one-handed. But the issue with putting the spring in the hole is that you really want to make sure you get it lined up when you drop it in, or else it'll fall into here, and then you know, it's just annoying. You gotta take the thing out, you gotta dump it out. All right, so I'm just being careful as I place it in there. So once I am confident it's in here, then I have to turn and move it out of the way so I can expose the other holes. There we go. Now I can already feel that this is probably too tight, which is a shame because this is where I feel confident with it, as in that's how I like it, but it's harder to push. And there's also a lanyard here. I'm not sure if I'd like the lanyard or not, because at no point do I want it to kind of interfere with the top plate. And I feel like because your finger rests here, it would end up pushing the, well, you know what? Let's just look at a smaller lanyard that I've got as a test, shall we? All right, let's get it. Let's get it in here. These types of lanyards are, I love having them, like I said, just as kind of like a quick proof of concept for something. Why am I doing it like that? There, get that out of the way. Because they're small, right? Like typically we don't use these types of lanyards on things just because, you know, I don't know, it's so small, but I guess, yeah, you know, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where it has to be thin enough that it does not interfere with the lid, but then if it is that thin, you kind of lose the functionality of the actual lanyard itself. So this is not a keeper. Oh, I noticed here too, I have to like buff that up just with one of those cleaning cloths. There it is, nice and clean with a little bit of isopropyl rubbing alcohol. So again, if this is something that you want to consider trading for or buying, please let me know because I am interested. I don't think I'll hold on to this one. I will say that works better now. All right, gang, that is the MOT Groove. Let's just get a nice little end frame here. Okay, thanks for watching.